94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city. This is the workforce. I'm Juan Castillo. And as you know, we always stop the music in order to just talk about what's, happening in our community. And it's my pleasure to have with us Doris Dumas, of course, president of the local New Haven NAACP. How you doing today?
I am well, Juan. Thank you again. You are a wonderful partner, and every time it's something of importance, I can count on you and 94.3 WYBC to be a part of it. So thank you.
Absolutely. So, you know how we feel around here about voting and how important that is.
Yes.
And you are partnering with some folks up in Hartford because it's a bill that's coming up. Can you tell us about that bill and what that entails?
Absolutely, Juan. So this year, Connecticut has the opportunity to make history, to be a leader around the Connecticut Voting Rights Act. It is a way for us to protect voting rights, especially for Black and Brown people. Many people have the misconception that Connecticut is a progressive state. However, when it comes to voting, we are lagging behind, and we really need to get things together in Connecticut. We did one big step happened in the election of 2022 because we did get to say yes to early voting. And that was huge. And that was a big milestone. But we need to make sure that Connecticut has the full protection of voting rights. And there's an act around the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Several coalition people have come together, groups like the ACLU, the League of Defense Fund, NAACP, other groups like Common Cause, you name it, people who care. This is a nonpartisan group who are coming together, and we are putting our voices together. We know that historically, Black fraternities and sororities are coming together with us. Other groups like the League of Women Voters, people across our state who care about the importance of voting and protecting voting, especially for our Black and Brown communities. And we think we're progressive, but we have barriers. We have things that prevent people from voting. So at this point, we're saying, a couple of years ago, we were almost 3 votes away from, as a nation, passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And unfortunately, that did not move forward. Now, everybody talks about how much they love John Lewis and they believe in that and that it should have happened. But the reality is you have people who are literally still trying to turn back the clock, who do not want people to have that power and that vote because they understand how important that vote is. And the vote is our voice. It's our power. It affects our daily living. It's local, and things that are happening in our state. We can't control what happened at the national level, but we can control what happens in our state. And we need people to stand up, to come together. This is not about anybody's personal agenda or what you have going on. This is about protecting voting rights and making sure that it's a priority. And so with everybody coming together, we feel like we'll have more power. We are putting the pressure on our legislators. So every person who's listening can contact their legislator. We also have on Tuesday at the state capitol in the legislative building, we are going to have a press conference. We want as many people as possible to show up at 10 o'clock a.m. Again, this is a coalition. This is a joint unity statement, a strong statement telling our legislators, make this a priority this year. Let this be historic. Let's pass this.
And can you just give us like a couple of things that could be in this particular bill that could help us in terms of protecting our rights to vote?
Yeah, well, one, we already know about early voting, but we also, so some of the things that we're asking is for expanded language for people who are dual language, who some people like English is not their first language. We also want to make sure that polling locations, that it's easier for people to vote, that we have, access that is easy and not difficult, because right now it's barriers all around that. We're also talking about removing things that prevent people from easily being able to get time off from work, so like making sure it's other things that are included. So it's really around the protection and to make sure that every citizen has equal access and opportunity to cast their vote, to use their voice, and to have the power around the vote. And with every, we need protections around that. We
Yes.
cannot assume. And people that have the luxury, oh, I can just, that one day, and even, we have restrictions for people who want to send in their ballots early, and things of that sort. So Juan, there's tons of things that prevent people and are barriers that people don't think about. But when you're out there, when you are talking to people at the grassroots level, you hear, I can't take time off and vote on this day. I have to work a double. I mean, I have kids, so you have various reasons why people are unable to use that power. And so we're saying that we need to remove those barriers.
Yeah, and one day we probably need, we need to make election day, a holiday, that's got to come at some point. But I would be remiss at this point, because when we're talking about voting, we're also talking about when we vote for our legislators and bills come up, we're in the position to be able to call them, and we're in the position to be able to find out when they're running their campaigns, what they stand for. This situation in Memphis around this police brutality is sweeping the country right now. Now we just had a bill that dealt with with criminal justice reform, right?
Yes.
Extremely important for us to be able to vote in legislators that can provide us with laws that can stop that kind of stuff from happening.
Absolutely. And we do have, now that we passed that in Connecticut, we have ways that we are saying that we're going to hold them accountable, right?
Yeah.
Because before it was too easy to get away with killing Black people, and for whatever reason, pulling people over, really all of those things that have been happening to people in our community. So now we have legislation that supports that. One, we know we need our police officers, but we need them doing their job and doing it, properly. But when they don't, then we have laws and things in place. One, we want to start with training, right? We want to start from, let's try to avoid that it ever happens in our state. Let's put things in place so that we can make sure that when these officers are going through their training, and not just that one time when they're coming on, but ongoing training, and making sure that they know that we have laws in place that if you have excessive force, if you're doing anything that is not proper and correct as you're policing our communities, then we're going to hold you accountable. And so now the departments have, they have this legislation that could support them doing what's best for policing in our communities, because we want people to be treated like humans. What they did in Memphis was inhumane. It was disgusting, and it is unacceptable anywhere in our country or anywhere in the world, really. But we want to make sure that in Connecticut, the same way we have laws now in effect to really protect people around policing, and to protect the police officers, because they need to get better training. And we need to make sure that even around mental health, that we have experts and expertise, and that we're just addressing things, and trying to be proactive. Because what we don't want to happen in Connecticut is that we are reactive. Now we have to speak out because something happened. We want to make sure, we can't prevent, everything, but we want to have laws in place so that people know we're watching you. We want proper training. We want to make sure that you're held accountable, and we want to support what we feel is going to be good for the police departments, but really for our communities as well, as they are policing, that the people will be treated fairly and treated like humans with respect.
Right. And the power to vote, puts us in a position where we have a say about that, right?
Yes,
and again, Tuesday, January 31st at 10 a.m. at the Legislative Office Building in Hartford. And this is about the Connecticut Voting Rights Act. That
it's open to everyone. We want people to come out. Come out. Let's see your faces. Let them see. Let our legislators see that this across the board needs to be a priority. We don't want limitations to absentee ballot. So right now we have limitations to how you can vote absentee. We also have limitations, across the board that are things that should be looked at, that need to be fixed. We are happy that we were able to get yes to early voting, but that's just step one. Now they have to do the framework. They have to pass, the specifics and the details around it. And we want to make sure that the protection of everybody's vote is in place in Connecticut. Connecticut can be a leader. This can be historic. Some states have already passed their own legislation. Unfortunately, again, it didn't pass at the national level. It'll come up again, and hopefully it will. But we don't need to wait for that in Connecticut. Connecticut, we want to be the progressive state that people think we are. Some of us think we are, but we need to know that we are lagging behind, that there are restrictions in Connecticut, and there are ways that we need to make it easier for people to have access to vote and use that power.
Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you for letting us know about what's happening in Hartford, what's happening in New Haven. Of course, you're always welcome back here. It's a phone call away. And again, Tuesday, January 31st, 10 a.m. at the Legislative Office Building in Hartford. Dory, thank you so much for all the work you do.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, 94.3 WYBC. You are a wonderful community partner. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Juan Castillo, which is the Workforce, 94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city.
Thank you.